What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Unlock Your Potential. I'm your host, Francesco Bartolillo, and I'm really excited about today's solo episode. Today's episode is definitely targeted towards my business people out there. I'm going to talk about the 5 things that I believe have helped me grow my business to where it is today. So I'm going to provide a little bit of context, a little bit of background information about my business. Just that way, it can help paint a better picture for the 5 things that I believe are going to help you and have helped me so far in my journey. And then it also gives you a little bit of maybe things to reference back to, or maybe there's a part of the story where you can say, yeah, you know what, I relate to that because this is where my business is at, or this is where my business was, and that sort of thing. And if your business is beyond this, then hopefully there's some stuff in here that you might be able to find or listen to and say, oh, you know what? My business is actually at this point, but I didn't realize that, or that's something I could leverage more, that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm excited to share a bit about the journey, but also share the lessons I've learned along the way. So let's get started. So before we get into the 5 things that have helped me grow my business to where it is, let's give you a little bit of background information. So my business right now is called Search Consulting, and essentially we specialize in social media management and content creation. We do offer other services, but that is kind of the meat and potatoes of the business. But that wasn't always the case. In fact, that wasn't always the name. Back in 2019, when I first started the business, it was called FGB Marketing. And at this point in my life, I had just finished university soccer. I was still trying to pursue the game at the professional level, and I needed some source of income. And so having graduated with a degree in marketing, and being relatively comfortable with Photoshop and graphic design, I figured I might as well dabble in this marketing world and start my own business. And so when I started the business, I didn't really have a clear offer or anything like that. I was more just reaching out to people and seeing what they needed and seeing if I could help them. So it was everything from logo design to graphics to website design, to marketing tips and I guess consultation to some degree, but not really. It was really all over the map. And so it'll come to no surprise that from 2019 to 2021, my business ran a deficit. And I didn't have a lot of expenses either. I just wasn't getting a lot of clients. A lot of the stuff I was doing was for free, but I wasn't, utilizing doing free work, which we'll talk about. It was really just kind of off the cuff, make it up as I go, and the numbers were a reflection of that. So it wasn't until 2022 where I realized, okay, I needed to make a change if I wanted this to become a legitimate business. And so 2022 came around, and I essentially restructured my business. I built an actual business model. I established an offer. I figured out what I wanted my business to be, which was more geared towards social media management and content creation, which it is today. And in 2022, I got my first full-time client. They are Hub City Volkswagen, and they are still a client of mine. So shout out Hub City Volkswagen. But yeah, that was my first full-time client, and it kind of seemed like everything snowballed in a good way for me in 2022. I got my first full-time client. I got my first big project with a company. I got my second full-time client. I also picked up a 4-month client, which was a job that lasted throughout the summer that year. So it just kind of had a positive snowball. And it made me, maybe it kind of made me realize that what I had been doing up to that point probably wasn't the best things I could have been doing, clearly. And maybe it gave me a false sense of belief. I don't know, but it gave me this belief that I made the right change and now I need to run with it. So 2022 was my first positive net income year with the business. It was my first year actually generating, what I would call a real revenue, real income for the business. And it sort of just kind of skyrocketed from there. 2023, the business grew even more. I got myself another full-time client, and I was picking up, more one-off jobs. I would say, every 2 months, 2 to 3 months, just a one-off project here or there. And in 2023, I generated, again, a positive net income from the business, and the numbers were really good. We cracked into 5 figures for the first time ever. And it was, the business was just in a really positive place. It was also right around 2023 where I decided to go for the rebranding. There's a lot of reasons behind this. One of which was I just felt with the business taking on this kind of new, direction and offering and that sort of thing, I wanted to change it a bit. But I also wanted the business to not necessarily be tied to my name. And, as much as FGB Marketing was a great place to start, and that was my initial, so it was tied to me, I wanted that business to be something bigger and have the potential to exist even without me one day, if that ever came to that level of the business, whether that's, me having lots of employees or me no longer being the owner of the business, whatever it is. I wanted the business to be more than just me. And so I decided to change the name to Surge Consulting. And this also aligned with one of the new services I wanted to offer, which was marketing consulting. So now, we had the social media management, we had the content creation, and then we have the marketing consulting service, which was a new piece that I added that I was really excited about because I really love working with people, helping them figure out problems and solving problems. And it was part of the business that I'm very happy we added and I was very excited about at the time. And so if we give you a snapshot of where the business is now at today, in 2024, we are set to have our biggest year yet. The business will generate a net income for me that is equivalent to that of the average Canadian salary. So the business is, for the most part, quite successful. And I've been doing most of this, at least all in 2023 and 2024, while having a full-time job on the side. And so that adds a very interesting dynamic because I've ran this business when I had no job, when I had a part-time job, and when I had a full-time job. And having a full-time job has not necessarily been a reason for the success, but it also hasn't hindered the success of the business. And so, the big thing that we're going to talk about today are these 5 things that I believe have helped me grow the business to what it is today. But it's also going to help answer that question of, how did I take a business that was running on a deficit for the first 2 years to now generating an income for me that is the same as the average Canadian salary. So I hope that there are going to be things here that can help not just answer that, but can also help you. So the first thing, which, they're all really important, but this might be one of the biggest ones, is establishing an offer. So whenever you have a business, you need to know what it is you're offering. What is it that you're good at? What is it that you're best at? And what are you offering to your clients? It's easy to go to a potential client and say, hey, this is what I offer. This is what I'm good at. This is what we do. Let us do it for you. It's a lot more difficult if you don't have a real good offer or if you don't have a specific offer. And that was me at the beginning, I didn't even know what I offered. When people said to me, hey, what does your company do? I said, well, we do a bit of this. We do a bit of that. We do a bit of that. We do a bit of that. But if you want this, we can also do this. And it was very you have to adapt at the beginning because at that point you're just trying to survive and get new clients, but you also have to have a direction. You have to know where you're going. And so establishing the offer that we wanted was huge. And that wasn't a super specific offer. It wasn't one thing, but it was, that shift that we made to saying, okay, we offer social media management, content creation. And then eventually we added marketing consulting to that. But that is what we offer. Now, if while we're working with a client, they say, hey, can you do, some graphics? Well, that falls under our content creation piece. Or, can you do some website stuff? Yeah, you know what? We can do some marketing consulting and help you build the website because we have the knowledge from our experiences. But just knowing what our offer was, that made a big, big difference in just taking our business from, like I said, running a deficit to all of a sudden being able to actually go out there, get leads, get new clients, and then sell them on what we were offering. And so that ties into number 2, which is utilizing lead generation. So for anybody listening to this that maybe hasn't heard this before or isn't super well versed in it, there's 4 ways that you can really get customers. And those 4 ways are one-to-one and one-to-many, warm and cold. So a warm one-to-one is a reach out to somebody that you know, or that your friend knows, or your family knows, or somebody you have some connection to. Maybe they follow you on social media. Whatever it is, there is some previous, we'll call it relationship, but it doesn't even have to be a relationship. There's just some connection. There's some way that this person knows who you are prior to you messaging them. Then the one-to-one cold is exactly it's what you think of when you think about cold calling or cold reach outs. It's DMing people that don't follow you. It's getting an email from a website and emailing them. It's getting a phone number, calling them, that sort of thing. It's there's no previous relationship. There's no connection. They have no idea who you are. You're just cold calling or cold reaching out one-to-one. Then there's warm one-to-many. And one-to-many is essentially social media. So your warm one-to-many is a post that goes out to all your followers. And that's marketing your company, your business, your services. The reason this is warm is because they're following you. So they've given you permission to essentially market to them. And this differs from one-to-many cold, which would be something like paid ads, where it doesn't matter how many followers you have, the reach is guaranteed through the paid ad, or at least a range of reach is guaranteed, and it's going to go out to those people, whether they know you or not. And so these are the 4 ways that you can generate leads. And being able to utilize them and make the most of them it's a difficult tool, because you have to understand, what they are and when they can best serve you. And so a good example of this would be, one-to-one warm reach outs, especially early on in the business. When you're just starting out, when you don't have a lot of testimonials or reviews, using a one-to-one warm reach out is really helpful, because a lot of times the people will give you an opportunity or give you a chance or hire you because of you, not necessarily because of your business. This is when you have a family friend who owns a business, or a friend or a family member, or a friend of a friend who says, hey, my friend so-and-so, they have a business, I'll connect you with them, maybe you can do some work for them. And this is really good early on. Like I said, this is a good way to get yourself in, get experience, but it's also a really good way to start creating testimonials, creating reviews, creating evidence, which you can then use down the line when you're trying to do the cold reach outs. And so that brings us to the next ones, which are the cold reach outs, either one-to-one or one-to-many, either way. When you're doing these, you want to provide proof. You want to have evidence that you are good at what you do, you are who you say you are, and therefore they should hire you. So it's a lot easier to sell somebody when you say, look, these are all the people I've helped. This is what we've done for them. Let me do it for you. That's a lot easier to sell than saying, this is what we're good at and this is what we can do, so let us do it for you. But we haven't done it for anybody yet, right? So having those reviews, having those testimonials, it makes a huge difference. And that makes the cold reach outs significantly easier. And the last one that we didn't talk about, which was the one-to-many warm. This one's a unique one because it's when you post on social media, for example, and you post something about your business. And let's pretend you're a photographer, and you post a picture out with your rates, and you say, these are my rates, these are what we offer. And your picture gets 15 likes. Well, 5 of those likes might be friends or family who you're not going to pitch because they're liking your post because it's you. But those other 10 who like it, who you don't necessarily know, but you just know over social media, that opens the door to send them a direct message and say, hey, I noticed you liked my post about my rates. Is this something you're interested in? And this is a really, at the beginning, it can be really uncomfortable to do this, but this is a really great way to generate leads, because if somebody likes your post, there's a good chance that they like it for some reason. And so you messaging them is basically just trying to find out that reason. Maybe they just liked it because they liked the photo in the post, or maybe they liked it because they themselves are a photographer and it helped them out. But also, there is the chance that maybe they are a potential client, and all it took was you reaching out to say, hey, is this something you're interested in? For them to be like, yeah, you know what? I actually have been thinking about this. Can we talk more? And this is something I used to never do with my own business. But once I started to do this, once I started to actually be willing to message people who interacted with my post and say, hey, is there any interest? I got some no's for sure, but I actually got quite a few yeses. And I got 100% more yeses than before because I never used to ask in the first place. So it's just a really easy way to, reach to potential clients. So utilizing those four forms of lead generation, I think can be really beneficial if you're trying to grow the business. So number 3, willingness to grow and adapt. So this one is a tough one, I think, for a lot of businesses, because I believe in almost any business, you will reach a point where you'll hit a ceiling, you'll cap out. And maybe that's because you've exhausted all your resources. Maybe that's because you're not doing the right things to grow, or maybe it's because you just need a change and you haven't realized it. But being able to realize and being willing to change your business, especially when it's already relatively successful, is a huge, huge challenge for most, but can be a huge, huge help. And what I mean by that is, for me, if I use the example of my business, it wasn't until 2022 when I realized, you know what? The business isn't doing great. I've changed a couple of things, but I haven't seen success. Maybe I need to change. Maybe I need to adapt. And that adaptation for me was changing from being a kind of Swiss Army knife graphic design person to, oh, you know what? This is what I'm good at. This is where my experience is in. I need to change to offer this, create my offer, like we said in point 1, and just change the business. And so that allows the business to grow. And again, like I said, it's a difficult thing because it's a tough question, especially when things are going well. How do you ask yourself, oh, do I need to adapt? Do I need to change? How do we continue to grow? And I think the only way to continue to grow as a business is to ask yourself the tough questions and ask yourself, how can we be doing better? That's the question you need to constantly be asking yourself, or else you will eventually hit a standstill and things get stagnant. Number 4, investing resources when appropriate. So again, this is not me saying you have to go pour a bunch of money into your business, especially if your business is at a certain place. If back in 2021 or 2020, when I didn't really have a great offer, I didn't really know what I was offering, my business wasn't in a good place, if all of a sudden I just started spending a ton of money on paid ads and a ton of money on new equipment, I would have just been throwing money away. So you have to invest resources when appropriate. But when the time is right, you absolutely need to then invest. And what I mean by that is, you'll find in business there tends to be, trends and ups and downs. And when you're on the up, when things are going well, you want to ride that wave for as long as possible. And so what I mean by that is, let's say you're starting to get a lot of clients and things are going really well. Maybe it's the content you're creating is looking really good, all these different things. Maybe that's the point where you say, okay, I'm going to start pumping out some paid ads because things are rolling. I'm confident in my business. I'm confident in my offer. I want to invest some money into this. Great. Then you go and you pump money into it. You invest because it feels like the right time. And then you see the results from that. And then whatever the results are, you can learn from it. Another example would be, let's say you originally had, 5 or 6 clients, and then all of a sudden that number jumps to 10. Well, maybe you now need to invest in an employee, because when you make that jump from 5 to 10, either the quality of what you're doing is going to go down in order to accommodate all the new clients, or you won't be able to accommodate them all, and some of those clients are not going to be happy. So instead, maybe you invest the resource of hiring a employee who can help you ensure that your quality stays high while you deliver to all these clients. And this can be, again, it can be investing in anything. Maybe it's time to invest in new equipment because, you're starting to work with clients who have higher budgets. And so the audio from the $20 mic isn't quite going to cut it, and you need to go buy that $200 mic that has that clear, crisp, sharp sound, right? So there's different ways of investing in your business, and the key is figuring out when the time is right and then investing as much as you need in order to make the most of it. And this is kind of that idea of, it's aligned with that idea of you want to milk something for as long as you can. If something's working and it's working really well for you, let's say you have a type of video or graphic that is just performing super well for you on social media, then you need to milk that as much as possible. So throw as many resources as you can in it. If every time you post a video that's this style and this intro and this whatever, and you get, increased engagement, increased reach, maybe you're getting leads and customer inquiries from it, then create more and more of those and pour money into it. Throw some money into some paid ads and see how the ads perform, and then maybe add some more, and just basically utilize that as much as possible for as long as possible until it dries out. Because especially in the digital landscape, things change so quickly that you only have a short window to milk the crap out of something. So make sure you don't miss that window. Number 5, and this one is, I think, probably the most important of all the things I'm going to say. And for me, it's been the foundation of why my business has been able to grow over the last couple of years. And it's customer satisfaction and retention. And the reason I say that is because if you have repeating customers, returning customers, or you're retaining customers, it makes it a lot easier to build your business. So I'll give you an example. If I have 2 full-time clients and every year they renew with me, and then I add 1 or 2 more each year, in 3 or 4 years, you're going to have 6, 7, 8 clients. But if every year I lose a client, then I need 2 more just to improve from the previous year. So having customer retention makes it possible for you to build and compound your business. If you're losing customers all the time, it probably means there's a problem with either your service or your product, and B, it means it's going to be really difficult for you to grow your business over time. The other piece of that is when you have customer retention, it usually means that they're satisfied and happy with your product. It also means that you can leverage those clients to find new ones, to find new customers, whether that's positive word of mouth, whether that's through testimonials, whatever it is, you can utilize that to increase your potential client base. And I mean, you wouldn't believe how many clients I've had over the years that have come from other clients. I would say probably 75% of my clients had some form of connection to a previous client of mine. Now, some of those are one-off clients and some of those are full-time clients. But whatever they are, they came from other clients who were happy, who were satisfied, and who would come back to me if they need it again. And so when we're talking about the one-off clients, especially in an industry that I'm in, and this could relate really well maybe to, again, somebody like a photographer or maybe a chiropractor or a sports trainer or, a gym trainer, whatever it is. A lot of your time, your clients do have, windows in which they need help or they need your product or service. So the key is within that window, providing them with the best service possible so that if they need your service again, they come back to you. And when they don't need your service, they are going to other people saying, wow, this person was so great, you should try them out. And a really good example of that is one of my clients that I have who's based here out of Prince George. They are one-off clients. I don't run their social media. I don't manage it. But over the course of the last 2 years, I've done multiple different consultations with them and providing them with essentially marketing advice. I've done multiple content creation bundles for them. I've done web design consultation for them. I've done a bunch of one-off jobs. And it's because every time I do work for them, I deliver them the highest quality possible. I establish a good relationship. And then when they need something, they come back because they're happy with the product. They're happy with the service. And that's how you create that relationship. And there are different ways you can also incentivize people to come back. For example, if you are in the business where it's not a subscription-based business, it's not a retainer type business, but it's like a one-off product. Say it's, again, let's go back to the photographer example. Maybe after you've done a photo shoot with a family or with a couple, you incentivize them. You say, hey, just so you know, if you come back to me for another shoot within the next 12 months, you get this discount. And all of a sudden, you now incentivize that person to come back. So if they do decide that they need photos again, they're going to come back to you because, hey, we liked them, the product was good, and we get a discount. As well, you might also plant that seed in their head of, you know what, we were going to wait a year and a half or 2 years, but if we do it within 12 months, we get this discount. Well, hey, we might as well do it. And so all of a sudden, you've incentivized them to come back to you, and that created a new client for you. And often that can turn into a client for life. So those are the five the 5 things that I think have helped me grow my business and I think will help you. And there's just one little bonus one I want to add to the very end of this. And this kind of ties everything together, but it also relates to some of the other stuff we typically talk about on the podcast. And that's just that fear of failure. It is a scary thing when you're running a business, for a lot of people, when you're starting a business, it's scary because, there's going to be judgment, there's going to be people questioning what you're doing and why you're doing it. I mean, I've had it from the start of my business even to today where, you have people poke fun at you, and a lot of times it's in good nature, but, they'll make fun and this and that. And sometimes you worry, your ego kicks in and you don't want to be judged. And for those people who are at the later stages of their business where the fear of failure is more on the sides of, I don't want to lose this, I don't want to mess this up, I have this income and I don't want to risk it by, taking on too many clients or doing this or that, that fear of failure will hold you back. And so what you need to remember is that no great business or no great thing has been built risk-free. It doesn't exist. In order to unlock that next level, in order to take that next step, in order to grow something to a bigger and better, you often are required to take risk. And so the idea is, can you take that risk while being as prepared as possible and embracing that fear of failure, knowing that if you can get through it and get to the other side, you're going to be just on that next level and even better than you were before. And so I know it's a scary thing. Even myself, taking that step from changing the whole business model to all of a sudden offering something relatively different. And then eventually, here probably going to one day, hopefully take that step of turning this from a side business to a full-time business. They're all scary steps, and there's no kind of way around it. You're not just going to wake up one day and magically have the confidence to do it. As we know, confidence doesn't come to you just like that. It usually requires experience, requires failure, requires trial and error, but eventually you will get that confidence to do it through the failure, and you'll come out the other side. So I hope there was some stuff in there today that helped you. I hope anybody, business minds out there who are listening to this, I'd love to hear your feedback as well. If you have any other tips that you think would help, please comment, shoot me a message, whatever it is. But yeah, thank you for tuning in today. I hope there's something in here that helps you unlock your potential. And until next time, we'll see you then.